So what is CrystalWerx? Well, CrystalWerx is a really cool new cloud-based application for do-it-yourself data management. In the next few minutes, we're going to show you some of the main features and how CrystalWerx can really help you get your work done. So CrystalWerx has got four basic functional areas here: the office, the studio, the factory, and the desk. And we're going to very briefly go through some of those. Of course, the first thing we need to do is sign in. So we'll log in to our CrystalWerx site. CrystalWerx is a multi-tenant cloud-based application. Whenever you register, you can create your own site and add as many users as you'd like. So we've tried to make CrystalWerx very easy to use and very pretty and very much capable of working nicely on a tablet. So here I'll sign in on a tablet. And we'll poke around here on some of these things: the factory, the studio, the office. And similarly, if I was on a mobile phone and I wanted to sign in here, okay, so I'm just going to go to the desk here, and here I have an inventory application that I can run, or I can check my messages. So CrystalWerx works great on phones and tablets. That's something that we try to achieve. So briefly, what is going on with these different screens? So here in the office, well, this is where we're going to have users, and we can add as many users as we need to. All of the users have various roles that give them the ability to work in different areas of CrystalWerx. We can also have folders, which is how we're going to organize all of our data and our pages. And each one of these folders can have an access control list, so we can determine which users are allowed to work inside that folder and whether or not they can edit or not. We can also have scripts that are attached to folders so that they can run when something happens inside of that folder. So the office is where we control these kind of high-level administrative security permission type things. And we can also check out the edit logs and see examples of what people have been doing in terms of editing the data over certain periods of time. So in order to work in the office, you have to be an administrative user. Next, we have something called the studio. In the studio, you have to be a designer or an administrator to work in the studio. And this is where we're actually going to go in and set up our table types. Table types are definitions of tables that include the columns that are in that table and any rules that you want to set up on those columns. So those table types can be as many as you need to describe all the different types of data. They're typically created for you automatically. We can have different ways to look at this data. We have views that allow us to set up different columns to see the data in certain different ways, and we can control which columns can be edited and which cannot. Are they drop-down lists? Are they lookups? Are they reference data? And we can also have forms which look at single rows of data, and these are very simple alpaca forms, and they allow you to there's no layout required. You just come up with a list of columns. And again, you know, is this a drop-down list? Is this a pick list to look up? What is it? Very easy to create. They work on phones, tablets, PCs. We also have pages, which allow you to actually introduce custom HTML pages into CrystalWerx. You can have any type of user interface you want. We have copiers. Copiers are very powerful in that they let you manipulate data any way you need to. You can merge, you can append, you can copy, you can transform from one type to another. When you're doing the copy operations, you can add existing values with new values, or invoke C# transformation functions. A lot of things you can do in a copier. There's really no limit. To control everything in an automatic way, we have a scripting language built into CrystalWerx, and this is actually a C# scripting language. So there's an underlying data model that lets you get all of the tables, types, forms, views, pages, copiers, and orchestrate data manipulations any way you need to automatically. The script logs let us see how those scripts have been transpiring. Okay, so next thing we have here is something called the factory. And the factory is where we actually go and work on data. So once we're in the factory, we can look at our messages that have been sent to us. So CrystalWerx has an internal messaging system, and those messages might have been generated automatically by some kind of an event-driven workflow, or they might be generated manually by people just trying to communicate. There's no email service required. This is all internal to CrystalWerx, built in. We can look at our tables that we have in CrystalWerx. So we might have lots of different tables, and they're all organized in different folders. And once we select one of those tables, we can go through and start working on it. If we need to edit something, we can make a change right away, and it's easy to do. And that just works right out of the box, easy. We can have these table operations that allow us to do various things on the tables. We can create tasks. We can look at task history. We can filter. So if I needed to have a filter on this thing where I needed to look for a particular set of rows, I can do that. The tasks are really interesting. You can assign tasks to other people, and that allows you to create basically a workflow that can be as simple as one task where I'm telling someone that I need them to do something, and the outcomes can be anything you want them to be, and the description can be anything you want to be, and these can be done manually by factory users, or more likely they could be generated automatically by a script, a task, an event-driven workflow that's created by scripts that have been attached to tasks. So one of the things that can happen on a task is that it can have a script run when the task ends, and this allows you to chain things together and create these event-driven workflows. We can also look here. This is where we're going to do our imports and our exports. We can get CSV data, JSON data, QuickBooks, SAP Gateway. We'll be adding more of these. The data can come from your local file system, or from Dropbox, or from Google Drive, or wherever. Exporting, we can export to CSV, JSON. CrystalWerx also has this really awesome Excel add-in, which we don't have to show here in this demo, but in another one. And that allows you to take any kind of data that's in Excel and very, very quickly and very easily move it in and out of CrystalWerx. We have our validation reports. You know, one of the things that CrystalWerx does very, very well is it keeps track of your data, whether or not it's valid or not, and it tells you exactly how many rows are wrong or need further work, and that can be used in lots of different scenarios, especially when it's attached to scripts that automate things. And that's it. So finally, if we go look here, that's it for the factory. Finally, if we go look at the desk, basically what that is, I need to go back out here to the top. Basically what the desk is it's a very slimmed down version of the factory, and that you can't really manipulate anything, but you can work on the jobs that you've been given. So if someone's given you a task to take care of some inventory here, you can work on that right here. And this will work just absolutely great on a phone or a tablet because it has such a minimal UI. If I wanted to launch this inventory app, so here's an example of an application that has been created inside of CrystalWerx. So if I click on this link here, it will take me to a form where I can put in some information to describe how I need to go and download some SAP data that will automatically get stored into CrystalWerx. Or I could run this application here, which will generate some count tags, or I could view my count status. So in fact, if I go back here and look at the factory, let's just go for an example run here. If I look at my inventory app, which is based on a custom page that launches various scripts, here's another one where I can say, okay, I'm on Team Alpha. I want a range size of 100. This is going to be due on, I don't know, let's say May 5th. So I'll go ahead and add that new row. That invoked another script which automatically fired off on new row creation. And that script is going off and creating a bunch of new tables for me that are populated with count tags. And you can see up here in the top that I'm getting some notifications up here that are letting me know that interesting things are happening inside the system. So everything's running in the background on CrystalWerx. And if I look at my notifications tag, I can see that these count tags were created. Like, for example, count tag alpha 300 was created. And basically this is a thing where I can go in and say, hey, I need to put in some inventory here for this, okay? Another thing I can do is look at these tasks that were created for me. So here I need to perform my physical inventory, and again it's on these count tags. So if I go and click on this link now, I can say, okay, well this is material. This is automatically doing a lookup for me into the Mara table, and let's just say I've got 50 of them, and they're here, and I'll save those changes. And you'll see what's happened here is we've actually gone off and looked up the description, we put in the count, we've got all this other information, we autofill the date, who did it. So a person could go through and automatically create all of these count tags and load them up with inventory. And then when you're done, if we were to go back here, let's try the desk. In fact, let's go back here and look at the desk on a tablet. So we'll go to our desk and we'll say, let's go look at the inventory app. And I can say, okay, well, what is the count status right now? And so I can see that these various teams have got stuff going on. Well, let's see, I need to update that. So I'll just update that. That fires off a script that's going off and updating the count status. And now when I look at it, I see, oh, well, in Team Alpha, they used one of the tags, which you just saw me do. Another thing I can do is validate these counts, all right? So that'll run off of quite a large process that will go through and make sure that the counts match up with the existing inventory that's in the MARD table now. And what we're looking for is counts that are suspicious. So here, if I look at my validation report, I can see that anything that I picked up in my count that seems suspicious, we're going to list it out here in this table and maybe kick off another process that sends it back to the factory floor for people to do the count again. So this gives you a basic idea of what CrystalWerx is capable of doing. It can be used by individuals who need to solve data manipulation problems. They can just go right in here to the studio and set up copiers or set up rules. They can go into the factory and do their work. If you want to have more elaborate user interfaces, you can create pages. If you want to automate everything, you can create scripts. One of the most interesting things you can do here too, if you look at these pages, is you can actually build them with Ajax. So if you don't like the user interface that's inside of CrystalWerx, you can create your own. So here we have a bunch of Ajax calls that are being made inside of a CrystalWerx page that anybody can add, and they can interact with the table just any way you want. So depending on how much programming effort you want to use, you could have your own page here that displays information any way you need to. Looking at some of these other example pages, you could have a shortcut menu, or you can have your grids any way you want. This is the block menu that I started to use for the inventory application. So, and let's see, we got all these notifications. When we ran all these scripts, we did some merges, we did some validations, some copies were done. So this was the scripts running in the background using those copiers to manipulate the data so that we end up with this simple user interface and this really simple basically application that anybody can use to see how the inventory count is proceeding. All right, well, I appreciate you taking the time to look at this, and it was very brief. There's so much more to talk about with CrystalWerx, but by now you have an idea of what it can do. So thanks again.